And let us move on to the discussion title, which is what are the best and latest in the digital gold space? Is Singapore an ideal location for this sector of the gold business to reach the region and the world? Is there anything missing? So to moderate the session, may I invite Mr. Neil Johnson, Business Development Metals, INTL FC Stone, please. Welcome, Mr. Neil Johnson. And joining Mr. Johnson on stage for the discussion are, first and foremost, Mr. Onish Ribai, VP, Streaming Operations and Metal Sales, Wheaton Precious Metals International Limited, Cayman Islands. Welcome. And next we have Mr. Sean Jie, co-founder and COO of Digix Global Singapore. Welcome, Mr. Sean Jie. Next we have Mr. Mohammed Asad, co-founder and CEO, PT Tamasya Global Sharia Indonesia. Welcome. Following him, we have Mr. Gregor Gregerson, founder, Silver Bullion Private Limited, Singapore. Next, we have Mr. Shu Lei, CEO, Gold Circle, China. Joining them, we have Ms. Cindy Siebert, Business Development Manager, Paxos, UK. And last but not least, Mr. Alexei Romanchuk, CTO for Copernicus Gold and Gold Plus Assets, Russia and Singapore. And as usual, ladies and gentlemen, please head to slido.com and enter the code APPMC 2019 for your questions. And we have about an hour for the discussion. I'd like to hand the time over to Mr. Neil Johnson, please. Thank you. Big hand for the panel, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, welcome and good morning, everyone. My name's Neil Johnson, and I'm the COO for Metals INTL FC Stone. Today's panel will be looking at how technology is and will continue to change our markets. There are already many initiatives out there that offer a different way of gaining access to, owning and holding precious metals. I think we've already heard about a few, and I think the previous presentation sort of just demonstrates that there are many, many, many things going on at the moment. It may come as a surprise to some of you that the first gold ETF was launched in 2003. So in 16 years, I think we've seen obviously how ETFs have really sort of impacted our business, how people can gain access to gold, obviously the gold price. The initiatives we hear about today could have some transformational impact in the years to come. I mean, we don't know exactly what those impacts will be yet, but I think the tokenization of physical asset-backed crypto coin or whatever it is that in the future, I think it will definitely change the way that our market works today, the way that we settle transactions. Our panelists were asked to look at and comment on some of the latest offerings in the digital gold space and whether or not Singapore can play a key global role in these initiatives as they take shape. We only have an hour to cover this topic, and we could probably talk about it all day. So I'm going to move straight on to Onish Ribai from Wheaton Precious Metals.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks to the SBMA for having me here again this year, and to Albert. Singapore's near and dear to my heart because my first love for Singapore was durian, and unfortunately it's also my heartbreak because I can't take one back home. Wheaton Precious Metals has been involved in quite a bit of innovation in the years. First off, starting off with mine financing, being able to build and develop capital for the miners, but also looking at how we actually access this information is critical given the nature of the industry that we're in. Presentation today is really going to talk about, first, some of the initiatives that we're doing, but more importantly, some of the challenges that we face as we get into this realm of digital currency and the transformation that we've seen in the last few years. Okay, great. Just a quick overview of who we are, what we do. Wheaton Precious Metals is one of the world's largest streaming company with a market cap of over $10 billion. We provide access to capital to miners in the form of a metal stream. Essentially, it's like a prepayment. Our business model has been quite successful in the last few years. We've grown our portfolio from just over 100,000 ounces of gold to almost 10 tons of gold per year, and approximately 790 tons of silver per year. And most recently, we've added cobalt. The business model is essentially fairly straightforward. We provide upfront capital to miners to help them build their assets. And in exchange, we get a fixed purchase price of their payable gold and silver to our account. And most recently, we've added palladium. Now, why is technology important for a company like Wheaton? As Terry mentioned in his presentation yesterday, and as the APPMC also alluded to yesterday, the importance of transparency is not only critical for the downstream retail customers, but also for the miners to be able to demonstrate adherence to these new regulatory changes and requirements that are being put in place. Wheaton does provide value to its shareholders by giving exposure to gold, silver, and reputable mining companies that are publicly listed. But we're also very involved in the communities and where we operate and where we not necessarily operate, but where we partner up with the operations that have these mines. And in an effort to be able to demonstrate this transparency, this technology can actually be used to demonstrate the provenance of where that metal is coming from, or where that material is flowing from. Just to give you an idea of the scope of where we operate and where we have streams, as you can see, we're predominantly Latin American focused and North American focused with a few assets in Europe. We are looking at China, so if you're wondering why the Chinese side of the map is empty, so we are looking at some opportunities. But we've tended to focus mostly on Latin America because of the stability of the mining operators that exist there, as we do tend to invest in the low-end cost quartile of these producers that deliver gold, silver to us. So the pain points that I want to talk about today and why technology can be essentially used as a way or as a vehicle to help mitigate some of these, I would say, costs that we are either passing back on to the cost of mining the ounce, or just the lack of transparency that currently exists. And I'm going to be highlighting some of that from the standpoint of an operator and the information exchange that takes place from the mine all the way through to that material being delivered to a smelter. So I'll showcase that shortly. But paper tends to be still one of the main pain points for not just us, but for a lot of the miners. The information exchange tends to be in the form of emails, PDFs, Excel sheets. Oftentimes, if you have legal documents, they have to be FedExed, and the cost associated with having the back and forth in a paper-based document can be quite costly, especially if you're looking at contracts that involve multiple parties globally. Technology definitely has proven to help there with blockchain. Transparency, lack of transparency is something that we've talked about quite a lot, especially at this conference. One of the main and hottest topics right now is being able to demonstrate the provenance of where that metal is coming from, even if it's an asset that has commingling taking place. So how do you actually do that? Is this even possible to do? So I'll talk a bit about that in a bit. Access to capital is also a very big challenge for the miners. In a resource and capital-intensive industry, being able to access capital to build a mine, to continue exploration, so that you can continue to mine and grow your reserve base is also becoming quite challenging, as banks are taking a different view on how they lend. So how do we improve that? And one way to do that is to demonstrate that these mines are operating in a way that's ethical, that doesn't actually create the environmental impact that tends to be assumed with mining. So how do we do this in a way where we can make that information more accessible? So we talk about digital transformation of the mine and metal supply chain. What does that really mean? It really actually has to go back to we've talked about upstream, but let's talk a bit about the downstream side of things. The mine site is essentially where this metal is coming from. And if you're not tracking and making an effort to demonstrate the provenance and the responsibility of mining this metal ethically at the source, then your supply chain isn't actually quite as transparent as you would wish it to be. So transparency is about not just from the point of the metal going from the refiner or the smelter to the end consumer. It has to actually go back to where it's actually coming from. So we looked at the mine site, how we actually capture data there, what type of data is being used commercially. We looked at the ships and the vessels, the logistics. When that metal is in transit, what's happening to that metal? Material also then gets shipped to a smelter, it's refined, and then you have your end bullion bar or kilo bar or whatever product that comes out of the refiner. The model I'm actually going to show you covers one product type that mining companies create. So you've most likely seen doré bars going to a refiner, and it's refined and outturned, and you have good delivery gold. We also have the concentrate market, where you do get 75% of the global silver supply comes from lead zinc concentrate, and copper con also has a significant amount of gold that comes from it. So this business model that I'm going to show you is essentially showing you the typical supply chain for movement of material from a mine site. In this example, we're using Goldcorp Newmont or Newmont Goldcorp's Penasquito mine, where we have a stream on the asset, where we receive 25% of all their silver. That material is loaded onto, the concentrate's loaded onto a truck. It's shipped to a freight forwarding carrier. It's insured. It's also has a letter of credit assigned associated with the asset. Essentially, this gives you a picture of what happens throughout that life cycle, from it being mined in the ground all the way to the end buyer at the end of the picture there. Looks fairly simple enough. But when you actually look at the exchange of information that takes place, this is actually what's happening. The information flow is absolutely chaotic. It's disjointed. We have emails being sent back and forth, Excel sheets, PDF files. You have situations where you have to wait almost a month before that information becomes visible. So the industry felt, well, what can we do to make this less of a pain? We partnered up with a company called MineHub and essentially created what MineHub did was they created a consortium of large-scale miners. With our technology partner being IBM, we partnered up with their blockchain expertise based out of New York, and I think they have an office in Boston. And some of those folks developed these technologies fairly early. So Newmont Goldcorp, Wheaton, Capstone, and Kucher have now created a platform to trace the provenance of material, transforming that chaotic model into something that's more digitally accessible. And secondly, if you talk about the supply chain of the movement of metal, what happens to the physical gold market now? Now that you have the end product, we now need to figure out, well, how can technology help the miners? How can technology help the producers in being able to leverage off of this technology to get clear transparency of pricing? One of the biggest challenges that we face right now is the financial intermediaries do control the bulk of market making and price making activities. Our reliance on the bullion banks could potentially put us at risk as this entire industry either consolidates or the liquidity starts to fall. We partnered up with Tradewinds. Again, this is a technology that will help us get liquidity in a platform that can allow us to get not only a pricing environment that's competitive, but also connecting us with the various participants that form part of that ecosystem. These are some of the two technologies that Tradewinds have created, and with their partnerships, we are hoping to actually create another avenue for the mining sector to get liquidity and ability to sell the gold that's mined out of the ground. There will be many other technologies like that, like the ones I'm presenting, but this is just an example of some of the initiatives that the industry and the mining companies have worked on. Thank you.
Thank you, Unish. We are already behind schedule, so I'll pass it straight over to Sean G, the co-founder and COO of Digix Global.
Right, so thank you everyone. Good morning and thank you for listening to this panel. So my name is Sean, the co-founder of Digix, a company that's based out here in Singapore. We've pretty much been in the whole Ethereum blockchain space since late 2014. So I'll just dive straight pretty much into what the company actually represents in this entire space. What we're trying to build here is essentially a marriage between the traditional gold and precious metal industry, as well as the whole new emerging technology called blockchain. So what we essentially do is that we tokenize physical gold bars, investment grade 4.9 quality bars into digital tokens that represents 1 gram of gold per token. These tokens itself are called DGX that are currently tradable on cryptocurrency exchanges. Just for some statistics purposes as well, I saw an article recently that mentioned there are 47 different tokenized gold projects in the entire space, and out of which of them, 9 of them are actually live right now in production, and Digix is one of them. But currently, right now in the entire market space, we do stand at about 60% of the entire market share. We've tokenized on an average about 1 kilobar every 4 days. It's not a crazy number, but I do think it's a good and humble start just to get things rolling into this entire industry. So what we try to pride ourselves on is that we have designed a proof of provenance technology on the back end technological tech stack. And this essentially is an asset explorer that tracks every different receipts that we receive in the company, be it metals that we buy from refineries or be it being buying from bullion dealers like even Silver Bullion here, who is actually one of our suppliers. And we actually store it in vaults based out in Brings as well as in the safe house here in Singapore. We currently are looking to actually expand the business to having different kind of vaulting locations around the world so that people could actually come forward and redeem physical gold bars. As a matter of fact, I think one of my customers actually came to the safe house last month to actually redeem a 100-gram bar. So the entire life cycle of a token, from buying tokens to redeeming physical bars, has actually been realized about 4 times so far since we launched in April of last year. And all these different tokens that are minted on the Ethereum chain itself are fully transparent and auditable. In fact, every 3 months, we do invite an auditor to come forward to the vaults to check every single gold bar that has been in existence to prove that the gold itself is integrity. So this is the recasting process that I mentioned earlier, where people could actually be recasting digital tokens into physical gold bars for pickups at the different vaults that we have partnered with. This Asset Explorer here is available to anyone with internet connection. In fact, you don't even need to be my customer, or you don't even need to have an account with Digix to see the entire history of different records that are available. Yep, so I do wish to speak with each and every one of you after this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Right, we're going to go straight over to Mohammed Assad, co-founder and CEO of PT Tamasia Global Sharia, Indonesia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning, everybody. My name is Muhammad Asad, and I'm from Tamasia, Indonesia. So basically, we are the mobile platform gold application for buying, selling, and transferring the gold. So I'll give some overview about the company. Yeah, so basically our company, we have a vision of prospering the people through gold. And our mission is basically we want each family in Indonesia, at least they have 1 kilos in their family to achieve their financial goals. Our strategy is basically we're the first Indonesian first Sharia compliant gold platform and 100% back with the physical gold, and we use the technology, mobile application, in App Store and also the Play Store to better understanding the alternative investment for Indonesian family. Because in Indonesia, the tradition is that every parents always give an advice to their kids, their children, that if you have money, you either buy land or buy gold. But then the land is more expensive these days, so people starting to buy gold. We also have the alternative investment for millennials market. So our target is mostly are the millennials market with the Sharia compliant business process and distribute the product over strategic partnership. And currently we focus on just selling the gold because we want to win in the gold market, and we believe if we can win in the gold market, so we can win in other commodities, others. So our products, we have two main products. Basically, we call it Beli Suka Suka, and Beli Berkala is an Indonesian word. So basically, Beli Suka Suka is like a gold saving. So people can save the gold with a very minimum of 50 cent US dollar. So they can get, for example, the 50 cent US dollar equivalent to 0.02 grams, for example, and then they can save it up until minimum of 1 gram, and then they can print the gold. We work closely with PT Antam to provide the gold for the customers. And our second product is called Beli Berkala. So Beli Berkala is called installment. So for example, people want to buy 10 grams of gold, and then they can pay it by installment for 6 months or 7 months up until 24 months. So basically we have those, like we put the margin in the beginning, and then the customer can just install it, the price. So as I mentioned before, our market segmentation in Indonesia is urban middle class, millennials, the people that have range age of 20 to 40 years old. And most of our customers, they buy gold and then they print it. So basically, we are the physical gold store, but with the digital technology. These are some of the examples of our customers. These are the documentation and legal certification for the permission of doing this technology. And also, we are on the process of getting the BAPEPT license. So basically, there is a new government, new regulation for players in gold application. They call it BAPEPT will release the license. It's already released on January, and we are currently applying for the BAPEPT license, and hopefully in July 2019, we get the certification and we can fully do the business in Indonesia. I mean, this one is the new regulation that's set by the government to rule the commodity. It's called gold. These are the growth and forecast. Yeah, we aim to be the biggest gold platform in Indonesia with 2.8 million users by 2021. We are currently having more than 100,000 customers in Indonesia. This is our business model with the subscription fee, margin fee, and the channeling referral fee. Yeah. This one, the media coverage. Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're now going to move over to Gregor Gregerson, the founder of Silver Bullion.
Thank you. So I'm really a software engineer. When I started Silver Bullion about 10 years ago, I was a senior data architect for Commerzbank. And when I started the company, I brought a culture of software development with me. So Silver Bullion really is a bullion dealer, it's a vault, and it's a software development house. We sold about $600 million worth of precious metals. We are currently storing about $300 million at our vault in Chaichi. And we created a peer-to-peer lending system, which I presented a year ago. It's been running for about 3.5 years. And it did about $100 million worth of loans. We have about 700, 800 participants. And throughout this time, we didn't have any defaults. We have not had any late payments either because of the sweeper fund systems that we use. It's an excellent system. We have 3 or 4 contracts being done every day, but it has a big flaw. And the big flaw is that I can only collateralize bullion, which is stored at my vault. And I've been working for the last 1.5 years to find a way to expand the system and allow third-party vaults to also make use of this, because I have too many lenders. I have to turn away lenders. I had a retirement fund of a major corporation asked me to give me $50 million, and I said, I have no borrowers, I cannot take this money. So I do have too much lending capacity and no borrowers. So how do we address this? Well, I need a very high level of transparency to build things, and I took my know-how and I built an asset tracking system, which I believe can achieve this goal of being able to collateralize Boolean at other locations. So the system is called GramChain. Here we go. And in essence, it works by having a vault which wants to participate, use an actual scanner, use some specialized RFID chips which are being put on the bar, and the system will keep track of the device ID of the scanner. It will keep track of the person using it, because you have to log into it. Of course, I would know where it is, and I would know what time an event is happening. I will get basic information about the object. I would have a photo. I will get things such as mass, brand, and so on. Based on the mass and the purity, I would know how many pure grams of gold or silver it is. I just multiply that times the spot rate, which is how I know how to value it. I would have fixed price items, which can be things like Rolex watches or other type of items which do not have a spot price, but have to be individually valued. And a third party can actually value this. What makes the system special is I'm taking all the data that's happening in the background and I'm bringing it to the foreground. So normally when you're dealing with databases, you have some cryptic information and so on. In this case, I'm bringing the background data to the front. In software development nowadays, we use a standard called JSON, which is humanly readable. And I basically split the data into three pieces. The first little box there is the event data. Second one is the parcel data, which are the physical characteristics. And the last one is the status. Now, I also keep track of the prior event, which is a security mechanism to prevent new events from coming in. But to make a long story, I can have a photo associated with this. I can have documents as well. And all this data is hashed into set numbers that you see there. That number is then broadcasted even before it is written anywhere else to a public blockchain, which in this case is Ethereum. And by doing this, I essentially guarantee immutability, which means I can prove to the world that this data did not change, because as soon as I change any data here, I would no longer be able to recreate that hash. And because I'm showing that data publicly, anybody can verify this. So essentially, this system is built to be as transparent as is technically possible, to my knowledge, because I'm going directly to the source of the party responsible for doing this. I don't go through intermediaries. I don't go through paperwork. I know who's doing what at any point in time. I'm recording it, putting it on the blockchain, making it immutable, and then I'm basically making all of this data public through what we call GramChain Explorer. By doing this, and by having this event-based system, I can actually create an ecosystem, because it is not just vaults which can use this system. A vault will always have to use an initial scan to get my basic physical information. But then the other thing I would need to know is who actually is the custodian for that item. And remember, custodian is different from ownership. So a custodian will be a customer of the vault. For example, if we have an account with a commercial vault out there, I would ask the commercial vault to assign these specific Boolean items which have been scanned to my account and upload a vault statement along with that, which is all hashed into this event. Now, I have access to these parcels. Now I can log in to the system, and I can, for example, lock it in order to give a loan to the counterparty which actually owns the Boolean. I can also have so-called service providers. If it's an item which I don't have automatic valuation from, I first need to have an independent valuator come in and value the item. That valuator would log into the scanner, potentially take a photo, and give his valuation. Because he logged in, I know who gave the valuation. I know the thing is on the blockchain, and therefore I can trust it. The same thing with auditors. The same thing with potential testing services. So there's a whole bunch of different values. You can think of the system like Windows, and I'm hoping that my peer-to-peer lending capability is sort of like Excel. People might not care about Windows, but they might care about Excel. It's just that Excel comes with Windows, and that's how Windows gets sold. Gram chain is supposed to be a standard, which I'm hoping to help establish in the industry, to do all kind of digitalization with gold, and it has very, very good transparency. If you're keen to learn more about these things, we have a stand out there. I'm happy to give you more details. And we have a vault tour today at 3:30 at the Safe House. If you're interested to come, please join us. Anybody is welcome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gregor. I'm now going to pass over to Xu Lei, CEO of Gold Circle, China.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very grateful to SBMA and Mr. Albert. You give me the valuable opportunities to stand here and share my views. Thank you. This is my first time speaking at the international forum. In order to test how poor my English is, I decided to speak in English. Yesterday, many people asked me what the Gold Circle is. It's my company's brand I founded 2 years ago. We provide gold training courses certified by Shanghai Gold Exchange for gold practitioners and investors. We also provide industry conference services. In December this year, we will cooperate with China Gold Association to hold the China International Shanghai Gold Precious Metals Annual Conference near the Shanghai Gold Exchange. So I'm here, welcome you to attend the meeting. At the same time, we are also a new media in the gold industry, providing information content services through social tools channels. We sponsored and supported the HD video live streaming service for APPMC. So your friends and partners all over the world can watch the live using WeChat, Twitter, and Facebook. Today, I mainly want to talk about the topic. The topic is the development of China's internet gold, the development of China's internet gold business. And regulatory policies. We know that fintech has been very eye-catching in recent years, and there are various business models and successful stories around the world. In the past years, we had a more direct name in our country called Internet Finance, which was later renamed as fintech, a fashionable new name. In this field, the largest application industry is undoubtedly P2P. Chinese entrepreneurs follow the American Lending Club, and there are thousands of lending platforms in China. Many early entrepreneurs have earned a lot of money, and even output this model covers the Southeast Asian markets. Of course, we all know that there have been many risk events in China's P2P, and even some young people have been forced to jump from the building to commit suicide. So, therefore, the P2P industry has been experiencing with heavy policy limit. About 5 years ago, our practitioners in the gold industry saw the rise of big data, cloud computing, mobile internet, blockchain, and other technologies, and they began to explore the application of financial technology in gold investment products. I have been involved in the operation of China's first internet gold product. User can use the app to purchase 1 gram of gold at any time, and even spend 1 RMB to buy gold. We can help users realize the interest income from buying gold through wealth management. Then China has emerged more than 20 internet gold companies, basically providing business models for gold. These companies can provide about 5% to 10% interest income every year. The innovative products of these companies provide a new investment channel for gold investors across the country. Several of them later completely the angel wheel, A round, or even C round financing. The customer scale grew rapidly, and even some company has more than 3 million customers, managing more than 30 tons of gold. No private companies can achieve the success like this in the past. In this development process, China's financial regulatory policy is not limited. We can understand that this is an tolerant regulation. However, in December 2018, the People's Bank of China officially released the interim measures for the administration of internet gold business of financial institutions, which clearly demands that gold products are only available to financial institutions. The State Council and the financial trading authorities approved by the financial regulatory authorities to provide the market. No other institution and individual may provide gold products to the market. The definition of a gold product here is that, in addition to physical gold, the gold amount records the gold holder's gold weight, value, and equity changes, as well as derivatives based on gold. In financial institutions' internet gold business, financial institutions provide gold account services, and internet companies may not provide any form of gold account services. In fact, all internet gold companies in China are not financial institutions, do not have financial licenses. So what else can these companies do? The document demands that internet organizations may provide product display services for their sales of gold products of financial institutions, and shall not provide services such as gold clearing, settlement, delivery, etc. And shall not provide transfer services from gold products, and may not transfer the products of the agents to other institutions. So we all see that such rules almost block all roads for gold entrepreneurs, which means that a company without financial licenses must stop all steps and change direction. They can only become banks, distributors, and get meager profit share. In fact, even banks, distributors must reach a high standard, and it is difficult for ordinary small startup to enter this market. What is the performance of this file? As far as I know, many companies have already withdrawn from this market, and the leading companies has transformed the P2P business model. Several companies with a slightly larger financing have signed a cooperation agreement with the banks. But after half a year, we have not seen any successful model, cooperation between a bank and the internet company. I guess that this market will be eaten by BAT, these big companies. I have already believed that regulators should provide equal market competition for practitioners, not for risk management, and not for only embrace the financial institutions. The entry of traditional financial institutions into the internet gold sector is a matter of course, but banks may like the initiatives to innovate and optimize services. The problem they face is that they are not hungry, and hungry children may be more diligent. Of course, I also think that regulation is necessary, but the strength must be correct. This is not a law. This is not a law. That is not a law. Finally, it must be a child who is not competitive. However, letting go of it, it will cause bad consequences. In the end, the child is likely to lose direction or even go to crime. Therefore, I believe that good supervision can monitor whether it is dangerous. For risk regulation, regulators should promptly warn and manage, but do not cut all gates across the road. Compared with China's regulatory environment, Singapore's entrepreneurs are fortunate. Gold and foreign exchange are free to cross-border transactions, and financial technology including blockchain has been well innovated. I have seen Singapore's peers in the blockchain and gold innovation cases these 2 days who give us many inspiration. I hope to see more innovation cases in Singapore. I believe that China's regulatory policies will be closer to the market demand and promote the application of more fintech in gold industry. Thank you all.
Thanks, Yulei. Our next speaker is Cindy Sieberts, Business Development Manager from Paxos.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see so many people in the room on the last day of the conference, so thanks for the turnout. A little bit about Paxos is we are a trust company that's regulated by the New York State Department of Financial Services, and we are on a path to trying to create a global frictionless economy. So we're doing this in a number of different ways, one of which is we're trying to provide a tool that alleviates entities' pain points in their post-trade services. Unesh, you mentioned in your slides that you've got an issue, call me. And then another way we're doing this is we have a cryptocurrency called Pax, which we launched last year sometime, and the success of that has been quite significant in that time. So bringing the two worlds together of touching on the physical market and on the crypto side, we're also soon to be launching a digital gold token called Pax Gold, which will be a one token backed by 1 ounce of an LBMA good delivery bar. So this is, aiming towards our goal of trying to seamlessly allow people to move their physical assets within the economy in an efficient way. And with that, I'm just going to talk a little bit about digital gold on the public blockchain. So I think tokens have been around for quite some time. I might be wrong, but I think the first one was launched in 1995, eGold. And since then, there's been many other tokens. You have tokens that's launched on a website, but it's limited in terms of your trading. You can only trade via that website. Then you get tokens that are traded on a private blockchain, which is similar to a website, but offers a bit more security using the the blockchain technology and coding. And then also you get tokens that are traded on a public blockchain. And we at Paxos believe this is the next stage of innovation in the digital token. So leading from that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the advantages of a public open blockchain system compared to a closed private blockchain system. So with an open system, you have the freedom to trade on different systems, and it allows for more liquidity and pricing options compared to a closed system where you have sort of a limited liquidity and pricing. You also have full transparency of the ledger, where an audit trail of what happens is visible to anyone who needs to view it. On a closed system, there are permissions with only certain people who can read the transactions in code. There's also a stronger sense of security with a public blockchain because it basically becomes impossible for anyone to go back and alter the history of trades. It's also very highly battle tested at this point in terms of security and what it offers. Also with an open system, because it's decentralized, you get true peer-to-peer movement. So you can transact on various networks and directly with any other counterparty, whereas with a closed system, you only can transact via one network. The open system also allows for open innovation and improvements, whereas with a closed system, because there's permissions, you can only do innovations through that network. This information is all well and good, but is there a future for digital gold on the blockchain? We believe so. At Paxos, we see the answers in various different ways. So we hope that international regulations will advance where more traditional participants can actually hold digital tokens as part of their investment portfolio and be recognized as such. We see it as people holding allocated ownership and having legal ownership of physical gold, but having the advantages of being able to mobilize that efficiently and expeditiously. We also see it resulting in fungibility with conventional gold products, so being able to transfer your token into an allocated or unallocated gold and vice versa as well. And it should also eventually result in the sharing of cross-functional expertise between cryptos, physical gold, and fiat currencies. And with that, I'd just like to say that public blockchains are good for scenarios where all users can be treated equally. So with Pax Gold, which we'll be launching very soon, and which I mentioned at the start, we're launching it on a public blockchain, so it allows us to work with various partners and create more liquidity across the market, and hopefully that creates an interest for more gold investment demand as a whole and benefits the entire gold market. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, our final speaker before we go into a Q&A session is Alexei Romanchuk, the CTO of Copernicus Gold from Russia. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We continue to speak about innovations in the digital gold space. I'm presenting here the Copernicus Gold Project. Copernicus Gold Project is a platform for digital wallets that can be substantiated by different type of assets. We are rather technical guys, but we have a banking background too. Also, we are early adopters of blockchain technology and digital gold for more than 5 years. So I would like to raise a question. Is blockchain really good for gold or not? And if it's good, why we still don't see considerable project in this space? From the technical point, the technology has many advantages. You know all these features connected with cryptography, immutability, and some other features. Also, blockchain technology is more fair from the point of customer because it doesn't allow unauthorized transactions. Also transparent from the regulator's point of view, because there is no way to change transactions after being put to the registry. So what really can be the problem? Now, after several years of the hype, we can understand, we can figure out what's going on. The blockchain technology was overestimated. So, and most of projects, unfortunately, look quite similar. And we see that sometimes blockchain technology is rather a solution that tries to search a problem. So, but it shouldn't be vice versa. We always must start from the customer needs. So, in our vision here is that blockchain is pure technical tool. We may use it or we may not use it. It should depend on the type of project, on real customer needs that we have. So, for example, in Copernicus Gold platform, we use blockchain for secure storing transactions in customer remainders. For us, because we definitely know that why we do it. We do it for immutability of the registry and for avoiding unauthorized access to the customer reminders. So, but for us, blockchain technology is a core banking system. Also, it contains many other layers and components that allows us to quickly bring some solution for customer needs. It includes a high-level API. It different gateways to banks, exchangers. Also, it has mobile applications, web applications, and we have KYC and ML model too. So Copernicus Gold is a B2B platform for quickly launching retail products connected with digital and electronic currencies. Why Singapore? We have about 3 years experience of being here in Singapore. We love Singapore due to 2 main reasons. The first one is Singapore is pro-business environment that have quite clear and transparent regulation strategy. We see how it will be evolving during of time. So the second reason, Singapore has a central location in Southeast Asia, and there are lots of players connected with different spheres of businesses. We see many opportunities for doing business here. From our point of view, our strategy here is, as a B2B platform, we find a strong partner in different traditional businesses and help them to become the IT businesses, the technology companies. So and today I'm very happy to announce our joint venture project with Gold Silver Central Company, and we consider this union as an example of successful collaboration in Singapore between a pure technology company like we are and a company that has been working for the precious gold, precious metals market for several years. So our product is focused on the customer who already have gold. So, and they would like to have additional services and possibly incomes to get from this gold. For example, quick estimation of how much asset they have, converting gold to jewelry, trading precious metals, some additional service, for example, collateral loans. So welcome to goldplusasset.com, and thank you so much for your attention.
Okay, thanks very much. We're going to have a few questions now. I mean, obviously, it's always going to be a challenge, I think, with 7 panelists and trying to fit everything into 1 hour. So thanks, everyone. We've just about got back on track. I'm going to ask each of the panelists a question in relation to their presentation. And then we'll start taking some questions from the floor. So if you have anything that you want to ask, obviously use the app. Okay, so Unesh, your presentation, in your opinion, are there technologies out there already that can deliver provenance solutions? And how, in your opinion, do you think the sort of technologies that obviously we've heard about today, that we know exist, how will they deliver more liquidity, in your opinion?
That's a good question. I think there are definitely quite a few technologies out there, as we've seen, in this conference alone, quite a few different initiatives. I think the key is transparency being the key word here. There will be technologies that focus on what the miners need to being able to demonstrate that transparency, and there will be technology that shows the transparency all the way up the retail side of it. So I do believe that there will be an environment where we have different service offerings, but the key is how do they communicate with one another, and creating a hub to being able to do that. In terms of liquidity, I do believe this is something that we will be moving towards, a world where we don't become as dependent on market-making pricing with the bullion banks, and through technology we'll be able to directly place the buyers and suppliers, as you've seen already. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, Sean, why do you think gold and silver are ideal assets for tokenization?
Right. So I do feel that this precious metal, gold and right. So yeah, I do agree that I think that this token itself is very easy to be tokenized, mainly for 2 reasons. Firstly, is the price discovery process of gold is really transparent. A lot of my users out there could actually efficiently price the token. Secondly, is on the idea of fungibility. The cryptocurrency market itself is widely volatile. You have things that trend between anywhere from 10 to 20% on a normal day basis. It could be a bear market, it could be a bull market. And one of the main use cases of this token itself is that people could buy into micro divisions of this token. They don't need to buy a whole gram. They can buy 0.01 gram, 0.1 gram, And this aspect of it makes it a very attractive asset class for trading in the cryptocurrency market space.
Thank you. Okay, Mohammed, your product, where do you store the gold? And another sort of question that I had, are there any transaction costs involved? So are there any transaction costs?
Any transaction costs? Yeah. Okay, for the first question is we store our gold in Antam, PT Antam, because we work together with PT Antam to provide the physical gold. And second one is the transaction cost for the buying and selling in our application. It's free. Yeah, it's free because we work with the banks. We have for the payment option, we have 10 banks, and also the e-money application. There are around 4 to 5 applications, so that people can buy and sell or even transfer in our application with no cost. I mean, it's free, no transaction cost. Yeah.
Thank you. Gregor, who would you say are your current and prospective customers for your offering?
Our customers tend to be private individuals for the most part. I would say about 50% are US citizens. We probably have about 25-30% Europeans, Australians, but they're almost always sophisticated people. Actually, a number of them are from the banking sector, which just seek to protect their assets in case of a systemic crisis. So if we have mass banking failures, earlier we talked about the nationalization of gold in the US. If that does happen again, then it makes sense to have a little bit of that gold stored far away from the US. And it just makes sense to internationally diversify. And when you do that and you look a little bit more at the details of doing that, it matters who you store with and what exposure that entity has jurisdictionally. So we basically specialize in only having Singapore jurisdiction. I'm selling gold, but I'm also selling Singapore. And I'm selling that the way we store the gold, which is the most transparent way we can. And that's pretty much the clients that we are getting.
Thank you. Shulei, how is technology changing the gold industry in China?
If we focus on the physical gold, I think so. If focus on the financial investment field, I think it won't work. As I said a moment ago, it's hard for the startup companies to use new technology to support their products. But for the physical gold, such as retail and wholesale, I think it will occur more and more new technology to serve the people. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Cindy, your website says that your dollar stablecoin, the PAX standard coin, allows sending and receiving dollars around the world instantaneously. Do you think that at some point you will do something similar with gold?
Yes, so as I mentioned in the presentation briefly, we are very soon to be launching a physically backed gold token called PAX Gold. And I think having the success with PAX, which is the cryptocurrency, and having an involvement through our post-trade activities with the physical market and bringing this expertise together, I think we can see PAX Gold token take off very well, and we hope that it will create a demand in the general market just for investment in gold as a whole.
Okay, thank you. Alexei, how do you differentiate Copernicus Gold from other offerings that are out there in the market?
Well, probably in our gold assets, gold plus assets project, we start to do business from different side. We already focused on the customer who already have physical gold in their storage in their homes. And then we try to bring additional value to this gold to help the customers to get probably additional income or additional service. I guess it's a bit new approach for doing gold business.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to take some questions from the floor. I apologise if some of your questions have disappeared. I've been trying to keep track of them. One of the questions here is will banks soon offer gold-backed tokens? I mean, does anyone want to sort of take that question?
If you don't mind. I've been looking into this quite a bit, and the issue comes back to what Cindy was saying earlier. The question is it an open token or a closed token? They're completely different. If we are talking what most people think about a token, it's a so-called open token, which you can send to anybody. A financial institution is not, from a regulatory standpoint, allowed to do that. So we will not see a bank issue a token as we understand it. A bank can use blockchain technology to make a private token, which only works within their system. So that is the reason, I think, why we have not seen so far a gold token that has really revolutionized the industry, because the bigger players in this sector are not allowed to do this from a regulatory point of view.
Okay, thanks, Gregor. There's a question here to Cindy and Alexei. What is the creditworthiness of crypto gold if you take it beyond your platform?
So with the Pax Gold token, because we're regulated by a trust by the New York Department of Financial Services, it'll be very highly regulated. So the creditworthiness will still remain there. And also it's backed, by 1 ounce. So every token is equal to 1 ounce of a 400-ounce LBMA good delivery bar. So it will remain there, and it would be owned by the purchasers of that token. So it remains beyond the platform with our partner platforms.
I would like to add that from our side, we use crypto technology for making transaction more secure from the point of customer. But of course, we're trying to be regulated and do business according to some regulations. So, and we are not cryptocurrency, we're rather more like traditional business, which use some new technologies like blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Okay, thank you. We are fast running out of time. I think there's one other question here. It says, is a one-to-many platform such as Digix or DG more efficient than many-to-many platforms such as a spot exchange? I don't know. Does anyone want to take that one?
Right, so I do agree that right now in this current new age of digital gold, there will be many solutions that will be out on offer. DG, Digix, Copernicus, Pax Gold, they will all be different gold tokens out there that will have different ways of prices covering them. I do think that they would exist at the beginning. It's a good thing because then people could arbitrage between them for the purpose of either redeeming physically or either through different kind of cash points. So I think that it's a good thing that there are one-to-many platforms. Eventually, they would be probably converging into 1 to 2 or even 4 top leaders, as we have seen in the stablecoin space. There were like hundreds of different US dollar denominated coins that were launched last year, but right now I think it's consolidated to having just the top 4 players.
Okay, well, I think that's just about it for the panel. We have run out of time.
Could I add a sentence?
Yeah, sure.
It's my first time to meet the founder of Digix, but I was already the customer of them.
So there you go. Yeah, we have a very happy panel. I think from me, thanks very much for everyone for pretty much staying on time. I think it's been quite enlightening, certainly to me, and hopefully the audience found it beneficial as well. I think we can see with the right technological solutions and global framework, there's no reason why I think trusted stocks could not be used more widely as secure assets to raise financing, be used as collateral, or as we're already seeing, as a currency where you can actually spend gold. And I think the way the market is right now, I think maybe in sort of 5 years' time or less, I think it will be a very different place. I think these initiatives as they roll out, gold, silver, other asset-backed digital currencies, if you like, they will become, I think they'll become the norm. And the way that we transact today, we don't really have a DVP market in the precious metal space. It's still quite old and antiquated. I think these solutions will, in time, will give us a much more efficient market. And as Unish said earlier, I think it will probably bring a lot more liquidity into the market as well. So thanks very much, everyone, and I hope everyone else found it very useful.